Spoilerin time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Merritt. Today, we are going to spoil for you episode 7 of season 6 of The Shield, episode 4 of season 2 of True Detective, the documentary An Honest Liar, available on Netflix, but starting Brian Brushwood with, of course, Brian Brushwood.
Oh, no, I thought you were going to say start with the movie draft, which is exactly
but then I realized
what
that was kind of a crappy way to introduce somebody.
Let's draft.
Reasons I wanted to avoid the movie draft is because Selfless only got $5 million.
Well, okay, first of all, you did not expect Selfless to be a big payout. You bought
I
it
didn't
for...
expect it to be a big payout. I would have liked 10, maybe 15.
What did you pay for Selfless?
I paid $6 for it.
$6. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that was all just walking around
taco
money
with cheese.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you got Ant-Man. Oh, geez. Man, you might be in trouble because that means Ant-Man, Vacation, Mission Impossible, and Fantastic Four need to make a combined total of about $650 million for you to have a shot at this.
Because Minions did $115 million in opening weekend for Team Cordkillers, putting them on top with $743 million. They're running away with this thing with 3 movies.
Dude, look, again, I bow to the expertise of Christy Cates and Malengo. I mean, it's like you guys got this figured out. I for one, am thrilled that we were able to sponsor. You know what? This is what it feels like, Tom, when you don't play on the team that wins the NBA Finals, but you own the team that wins the NBA Finals. I'm proud of them. Only imagine you actively played against them in the tournament, though.
I like this rewriting of history where we get to partially win.
Exactly, man. We could all own a bit of it. No, congratulations.
So I'm $520 million behind Cordkillers right now, and like you said, Minions is going to make easily another 150 million, right? Where's it going to stop? I mean, I don't know if I could catch them, even if Mission Impossible, Fantastic Four, and Ant-Man all make $200 million.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I really don't have too much to say outside of like this is it. This is your showtime. Everybody expected. Number one, they expected you to win. Number two, they expected you to win just based on the last 4 or 5 movies in your slate. And now we're in it, and we certainly have one total bomb with Selfless. It'll be interesting to see where stuff goes from here, question mark.
I'm just saying, I was never being humble when I said I wasn't 100% sure we were going to win.
So you're right. You're a smarter player than
stuff like this could happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into An Honest Liar. This is a documentary about the amazing Randy, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting in person once briefly because of Brian Brushwood. And this is somebody who is like in your world, right, Brian?
Oh, sure. For those of you who don't know, the amazing Randy has been an outspoken critic of claims of the paranormal and supernatural. And over time, at some point, it started off as a cash prize he would offer out of his pocket, but eventually got benefactors. And the James Randi Educational Foundation has had for decades now a $1 million prize. It's real money. You can see pictures of the money, and you can see the contracts that bind them by law to give that money to anyone who can demonstrate under test conditions that are agreed to by both parties to prove a supernatural ability, whether it's telekinesis, whether it's predicting the future, reading minds, literally any of that stuff, and to something as trivial as Monster Cable's claims that their $10,000 audio cables are significantly and measurably better than far cheaper ones. It is very weird because Magic is all of 12 people wide and they all have each other's cell phone numbers. It was very weird to watch this movie and realize everyone in this movie, I think there were maybe 4 people I did not know personally. Every single other person I had either met in person or had their cell phone number on me at that moment. What did you think as an outsider of the Magic scene, Tom? What was your takeaway? What do you think the movie's thesis was, and did it hit the mark for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not somebody who knows personally anyone in this movie, and it felt like an attempt to make a story out of The Amazing Randy versus Uri Geller. That seemed to be a theme throughout here, and to make a story about a revelation regarding the man who would eventually become Randy's husband, regarding his immigration status. And I kept waiting for another shoe to drop, right? Because they kept building things up, as they do in documentaries. And I thought it was a well-constructed documentary. I really enjoyed just seeing the actual file tape and the actual quotes, and Randy going on to the Tonight Show and showing how spoon bending can be done even by him. That was all great. And that's just a good documentary. That's hitting the fundamentals of a documentary. But I was a little disappointed when the two shoes dropped, because one was Uri Geller just kind of saying like, well, I just I've backed off my claims a little bit, and it was very unsatisfying. And the other was, the immigration status of the Amazing Randy's husband didn't seem like it was really all that controversial. They tried to make hay a lot out of the fact that Randy must have known this status and was keeping a secret of his own when he was being the skeptic who was trying to shine light on people who fool the public. But I didn't draw a parallel between protecting a loved one's criminal status and trying to fool people into thinking faith healing or telekinesis is real.
Yeah, man, that is the problem. I actually really, really liked the first half of it. It was awesome to see, to first of all, James Randi has an extraordinary story. And there's some great footage. He toured with Alice Cooper, and you get to see footage of him on tour with Alice Cooper.
My first concert was Alice Cooper. It was the Teenage Frankenstein album, so it was much later than when Randy toured with them. But a lot of those same effects that they show were still being used on stage, even in 1984. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So in there's a lot to love about it, and it is a significant element when the story broke that that Randy's significant other was living under an assumed name, and then and again, it's complicated. We have a dumb immigration policy in the United States, and it creates a perverse incentive where the easiest way to get in is oftentimes to buy an identity and then just live it, and that's what happened in this case. But the ending really, really upset me, because you had a bunch of quotes that were all taken in a context that gave this kind of false equality to the situation James Randi was in to that of Uri Geller, and it's demonstrably false. They're not even within light years, and the fact that they put him even casual, even in the slightest way, in the same category as a fraudsters that you see in this rogues gallery of bad people that he's debunked over the years was a real bummer to me. And I just wonder, I feel like the entire movie suffered for it, because not so much because like, hey man, you're crapping on my one of my heroes, although that certainly played into it, I'm sure, but really because it causes it weakens the thesis of the entire movie. Is the thesis of the movie that we're all liars and therefore we're all, pretty much the same and anything goes? Is the thesis of the movie that there's a tangible benefit to standing up and saying, no, the process of science is that you have to, it doesn't matter who you are or what friends you have. What matters is, can you demonstrate it under, blind conditions and so on. This is his lifetime is about the search for truth. And I feel like, for some reason, that wasn't sexy enough to put in the movie, so they put what felt more sensational, and I felt robbed as a viewer for it.
Yeah, it's easy to play armchair documentarian, right? But if I were to critique this, I would say that if you're going to set up Uri Geller as the foil, which they definitely did, I didn't think Uri Geller looked all that evil. He was doing magic tricks without having the decency to basically admit that they're magic tricks. And so there's something there to explore. I would have gone with a more character-oriented, maybe a parallel documentary where it wasn't just about James Randi, but but about here are two parallel lives, and let's compare. Let's get into a little more of why Uri Geller does what he does. They never get into that. They just kind of set him up as a bit of a straw man, and yet when we get to the part where we find out that James Randi probably knew about the status of his eventual husband, we don't really get into that much either. And it's set up as like, aha, see, we're all, like you say, like we're all liars. And to me, it's like, yeah, but okay, that is fair. And that is a point. And that is something to explore about the life of someone. But it bears no relationship to what Brian just talked about, which is, evidence-based evaluation of claims. It mashed up a couple of different themes in a way that didn't work for me. That's all.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it landed, unfortunately, in the mushy middle. I think that if it had picked a more extreme position on either side, it would have been a better flick. Whatever. But
all in all, would still recommend people watch it. I think
absolutely.
It's an enjoyable documentary, if for nothing else, all of the file footage and the history.
Yes, absolutely. And, keep in mind, there's a lot of people out there who are just unfamiliar with James Randi's extraordinary story. And this is as good a place as any to get the broad strokes, because, I mean, the broad strokes are all in there. And to be honest, my favorite part of the whole thing was learning about the nuts and bolts of the Alpha Project with Banachek and his buddy.
Oh, yeah, that was really a fascinating look behind the curtain about how those guys felt about hoodwinking scientists, et cetera.
Well, and it's a weird thing because at the end of the day, they did a great service to science by showing how non-rigorous the standards were for testing claims of the paranormal. Like all of science benefited, all of humanity benefited for it. However, having said that, it's messed up, and I don't blame them for feeling weird about like looking people in the eye and lying to their face, knowing and taking their, they're getting ready to stake their academic reputation on what they believe is an extraordinary, important phenomenon, and then just have to be like, no, bro, I'm blowing on it. It's all of that is electric and exciting. But
although,
again,
let's be clear, without those scientists, we don't have the inspiration for the original Ghostbusters.
Touche. That's look. I think
there's always silver lining somewhere.
Quality.
Let's go from a true movie about an honest liar to a false television show about a true detective.
Tom, we got to have a conversation.
Boy, don't we?
Some might call it an intervention. We are creeping up on the halfway mark of the second season of the most acclaimed show, one of the most acclaimed shows of last year. And I could tell that the fourth episode, should have been extremely important. I know this because it ends with an amazing bloodbath orgy, a horrifying shootout.
An incredibly well-directed firefight.
Correct. But one in which I have no idea who I'm supposed to relate to. I don't know or believe or understand the significance of again, let's make parallels. Last year, around this time, we had that amazing moment with Woody Harrelson and Rust. I'm mixing up characters. Rust Cole. Where they
pulling up the IMDb page now.
Where they take those guys out on their farm. And then they end up having to immediately construct a story of how
Detective Marty Hart and Russ Cole. Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly. And this is that same beat. This is that same time. Season 1, that was electric. It was amazing. I understood those two characters. I understood the stakes, and we were meeting the bad guys for the first time, but or some of them. But I believed it, and it was electric, and this had none of that. It has none of it. I still don't understand why we're supposed to care about the victim. I understand the only thing I can latch on to is Vince Vaughn is Stringer Bell. Vince Vaughn is somebody who has a nickel-bit player, 2-bit operation in crime, and you even see him going back to his old ways, running a protection racket on some real estate opportunities, and he just wants to be legitimate, and this was his ticket, and he's being robbed of it. that is the most compelling narrative out of everything I've seen so far. Having said that, it's not that compelling a narrative. And I want to be swept in to everyone else's story, but I get foggy. I can't pay attention to it. I lose track. Like I spent 20 minutes genuinely trying to track down for sure whether or not I had seen season 3 or episode 3, because by the time season 4 started, they were acting like significant things. I was like, wait, what does that even mean? Is it my fault for tuning out, or is it their fault?
Especially what's the guy, Paul? When Paul wakes up in the guy's apartment, I had that same reaction of like, did I miss a scene? Because last time we saw him, he was running away from that guy. But it was supposed to be a jarring scene. I get that now. But I'm glad you said that, man, because every week I feel like I just can't pay attention. And so I've been feeling like, you know what? I just, maybe it's because it's Sunday night, maybe it's late. Sure, Game of Thrones, I can follow because I read the books, right? Maybe last year, True Detective, I was watching it catch up most of the time. So I was watching it different times of day when I could focus more. So last night, I made a point of sitting down and focusing and paying attention. And I drifted away once, briefly, caught myself and made myself pay attention. And I still felt like I needed to read somebody's recap of the show in order to understand everything that was going on. And I couldn't, because Wired's K.M. McFarland had not posted his recap before the show. So I did read the one from Gawker, which wasn't bad. It was a pretty good recap. But I was going to make a crack about like maybe K.M. McFarland was as confused as I was by this episode. He did post it right before the show started, and the title is True Detective Recap. This plot is getting hard to follow.
It's not just us, Tom.
It's not just us. Thank you, K.M. McFarland.
Yeah, man. And again, I don't know how to fix it. I don't even know how to articulate what I want more of. You know, maybe some consistency and direction or depth to the characters. I mean, Vince Vaughn might be the deepest character in here. With Colin Farrell as a second place, I guess. But even then, they're just all inconsistent and all over the map and childish. And it's fine if I don't like any of them. It's the fact that I can't understand any of them, and I don't understand what motivates them, and I can't play that game of like, oh, I wonder, given how much this guy cares about X, how he'll react to stimulus Y that's currently coming in.
You know, and maybe it's not supposed to be the same, right? This is an anthology series. I get that. Season 1 of True Detective, what I loved was that we had a mystery upon a mystery upon a mystery right from the beginning. Why did the girl have antlers?
Interesting
right?
mystery. And every
why
time
is Rust Cole doing a flashback? You know, and by the time we got to episode 4 and we're going to the barn, I'm like, wow, this is a mystery I didn't even know we were going towards, because there's so much more going on with these guys in the barn than just they're the folks who killed the girl, right? Like, I'm dying to find out what's really motivating all of this. This season of True Detective feels like the way I felt about season 1 of The Shield, which is, wow, this is a really interesting way to tell a very normal crime story, which is rich government guy and corrupt rich guy butt heads over a murder, and cops who are dirty and not dirty try to work together to figure it out.
Yeah, so I guess I'm left. Now we kind of fall into the sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, I'm in this far, I might as well keep walking. But I mean, I'm also this far into Orange is the New Black, which granted, is not as great as the first season. And I'm into Sense8, which, again, I don't know how great it is compared to other things I could be watching. If you had to pick for me right now to drop one of those three and not finish the season, which one would it be?
That's a good question. I would keep Orange is the New Black. I'm going to do this House Hunters style, where they always have 3 options and they rule out one first. So I'm going to say Orange. Definitely keep Orange is the New Black, because I know you already like it, and I know that I felt like it got better as the season went on.
Yep.
And then I'm going to say stick with True Detective, and that's only because I don't know what's coming. And
so you're going to say like you definitely know that Sense8 ends tepidly enough.
I know that Sense8 ends in a way that will not entertain you. I know enough after doing these shows for this long. I know what kind of stories you like and which kind of stories you don't. And Sense8 is wrapped up in the story you like, but it's not, the inside is not the kind of story you like.
All right. Well, fair enough. I mean, no, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. And Wayward Pines, I mentioned that I was watching it. I was watching it going like, yeah, this is not one I would recommend to Brian because again, it doesn't have that consistency. It doesn't have that plot development that you like and those, and understandable characters that act consistently with motivations. Sense8 has the characters, but it doesn't have the story. So I feel like True Detective is all story right now and then all character, but they haven't hooked them together somehow. And I'm hoping that in these last 4 episodes, that's what happens. I see flashes of it, right? We see the guy with the bird mask on. We know that there's something weird going on with Annie's father and the retreat and the psychologist. They brought that in. They were reading the recap. I was definitely like, oh, right. There are some really good elements that are pulling together here. And we're seeing parallel developments in Annie and Paul and Ray. And we're seeing character growth with them. But it's like the plot is not reacting to the character development to me.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I'm in the same way. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But let's talk about something that is awesome and that I do want you to finish is with The Shield. What episode are you up to now?
We are up to The Shield episode 7. I'm just making sure that that's right. But
season
yeah,
6 or 5.
What?
Season 6 or 5.
Season 6.
Oh man.
Episode 7. Shane tries to get the upper strategic hand on Vic. The strike team works with and tries to keep the cover of an undercover agent. So you have the Hernan subplot rolling along, which is excellent. And you see Wim stepping up as captain. You see Aceveda doing machinations. You have a whole other like Shield miniverse. Like they're so adept at this show now that they're like, yeah, we could have actually had the Shield be about this entire storyline right here that we're using in the background of this episode for you. And that's really compelling. But really what this episode is Shane getting his stuff together to be able to defend himself against Vic, and then using the agent that they sent to Mexico, using his wife as basically a bluff to get Vic to meet him, and then give him copies of all of the dirt that he has on him. And now we've got a showdown. Vic just threw down, or I'm sorry, Shane just threw down to Vic. I've got all this info and I'm not afraid to use it. And Vic was really just hoping to tell Shane to get gone. And now Shane has upped the game. And we know what happens to people who up the game against Vic Mackey. So
yeah, dude. So
not a good move, Shane Vendrell.
Sounds like this episode was a little more place setting, just getting ready for the next burst of oh crap moments that we're about to head to.
Yeah, this is a 10 episode season. This is episode 7. And we had what you might think would be saved for the season finale, like the revelation that Shane killed Lem to Vic happened in episode 6. So episode 7 is like, all right, we did that crest of the coaster, but that's not the highest one. Now we got to start getting ready to climb again. I imagine that's what happens in these last 3 episodes.
All right. Well, then I think since we're getting near the end of the season, I'll try to jump back in and watch them alongside you. Of course, I've got
when you can, man. I understand.
Yeah. Dude, right on, man. Good chatting with you.
Good chatting with you too, and good chatting with all of you. It's Spoilerin Time, by the way, is available live on Mondays right after Cordkillers on diamondclub.tv. It is available on demand to patrons at patreon.com/Cordkillers as soon as Bryce gets it up on Monday evenings, Tuesday mornings, maybe technically for some of you. And then for everybody else, it shows up at cordkillers.com on Wednesdays on the blog. We will talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.